Hey everyone, it's Casey, and today we're going to do a 60-minute Hatha yoga class. And the emphasis is going to be on hip opening as well as adding in some balance work. So think some stability and a little bit of that core activation to bring it all together. Prop wise, 2 blocks are suggested for class today. Other than that, we're just going to flow through. Let's start off on our backs. As you come down onto your back, I'm going to offer you to bring the soles of your feet to come to touch together. Let the knees open out to the sides and just let your arms take any shape or positioning that feels good for you at this very moment. Maybe that means keeping the hands more closed in on the body. Maybe that means opening and extending the arms out to the sides or slightly overhead. So many options, hand over heart and belly. Once you find a variation that feels of service to you, now let's draw our awareness down into the lower part of the body. So feel the placement of your feet, and maybe you want to adjust a little bit. Think about the distance between your heels and your hips. If you want, you can slide the heels up closer towards the groin, or you can even slide them farther away. And then once you find a nice placement where you're able to just relax, let the legs hang nice and heavy, you'll feel a nice kind of elongation through the inner hips and groin, creating more spaciousness as the knees fall out and down towards the sides. Wherever you are, try to pick a shape that feels restful for you. We can still feel a little bit of an opening or a stretch, but without putting too much strain on the body. We don't want to feel forced or too strenuous. We want to feel that nice kind of in between where we're able to feel sensation, but also a nice deep softening. And to help us kind of soften through the rough edges, let's establish some breath together. So start by just releasing all of the air out of the lungs. And then from that emptied space, really intentional breath in, filling up all the way through the belly, and expand the breath high up into your chest. All the space between opens in all directions. And just allow yourself to pause briefly as you reach the top of the breath, that nice retention. And then open up the mouth and exhale, sigh, let everything out. Again, slow inhale, filling all the way from the bottom to the top. Feel the expansion around the sides, all directions. Like a barrel, you're opening up, holding at the top of the breath. And then open up the mouth and let everything out. Now one more, but we'll keep the breath through the nose on the exhale. So let's take that slow inhale, just like we've been doing. Barreling open through the entire torso, front, back, and sides. Holding at the top of the breath. We're going to keep the breath through the nose. Slowly exhale, let the breath trickle out section by section until you're fully emptied all the way out. And then let your breath find more of its natural rhythm. Let it sink back into more ease and its own steady cadence. And just notice how the breath feels after creating a little more space for it. Lightly constrict the airway down the back of the throat as you come into more of an ujjayi breath. A victorious breath, an ocean wave sound, or if it's easier to mimic, think Darth Vader breath, that sound on the inhales and exhales. Doesn't have to be forced, just a light activation. Now, just a couple more breaths as we hold this shape before we start to move along. And find little movements in your fingers, in your toes. Use the hands to the outer legs to help gently guide the knees back towards one another. Separate the feet until they're stacked underneath the knees, and then just sway the knees left and right like windshield wipers. Notice how it helps to loosen up that lower back. You may even feel little pops and cracks. Let the knees rock all the way back up to center. Keeping the knees bent, let's extend the right leg up towards the ceiling. And as you reach up, let's take big circles through the ankle, both directions. And then flex through the ankle so the toes are pulling back and you're reaching up through the heel. It's okay to have a bend into the knee, but still working that nice lengthening through the back of the leg. And then keep the bend in the ankle, but just create a fist with your toes. You're curling the toes, but keeping that nice bend. Now keep your toes curled and just start to extend your ankle. So now we're in a full pointed position. Keeping the ankle extended, start to pull the toes back, fan them open wide, like the shape of a high heel for your foot. And then relax the foot, cross the ankle over your left thigh, and just feel that knee swing open away from you to help aid in that external rotation of the hip. Now you can stay right here, just pressing that thigh forward. Or if you are able to take it a little bit deeper, you can lift your left foot off the ground. Weave your hands through and catch the back of your left thigh. If it's available, you can weave your hands all the way around the front of the left shin. Make sure that the back of the hips have a grounding point, so they stay connected down to the ground, not curling up and away, okay? With the back nice and flat, all the way to the back of the hips, that's gonna help us direct the stretch exactly where we want it to go without putting strain on our lower backs. So as you pull the legs closer towards your chest, hips stay grounded and notice the intensity that starts to build in your outer hip. As you feel that opening, that intensity, and all that sensation, come back into those really deep breaths, in and out of the nose. Try to close the eyes so you're localizing your breath where you want it to go without adding in any visual distraction or stimulation. Use only what's necessary, let the rest go. Now, as you're drawing in closer towards your chest, see if you can shift your legs maybe an inch or two to the left side, just a very subtle shift of your body. And as you do, you may feel the right hip lift a little lighter. That's okay. Notice how the intensity starts to build as it lifts, as you feel kind of that full sinking weight into the stretch. Try to take some tension out of your shoulders, even though you are using your arms here to draw in. Give yourself just a few more nice connected breaths. Now, with the legs shifted over to the side, bring them gently back to center. Now, as you bring the legs to center, we're going to release, keep them crossed as you set the left foot down to the ground. We're going to take that left foot and walk it over to the left side of the mat. And as you do, you can walk it over as much as you need to until your legs fall open to the right side. Now, it might not feel good to keep the right ankle on top of the left thigh. So if it puts any extra strain that if it doesn't feel good, then just take the right foot down to the ground, okay? Otherwise, keep it rested on top for a little bit of an assist. Your left foot can stay where it's at. Maybe you walk it out wider off your mat. Maybe you walk it in a little closer towards the middle of the mat. You can play with the placement until you feel what sensation you're looking for within the body. That appropriate amount of intensity so you can still maintain a nice fluidity in your breath, not holding, not panting. Slow it all down. Give yourself about 3 more breaths. Feel now that nice internal hip rotation on that left side. A nice release from all that external work that we've been doing. Alrighty. Now, if the foot is still rested on top of that thigh, go ahead and just bring it back to the ground. Swivel the knees through to center, walk the feet in, and just hug the knees to your chest. Rock side to side. Okay. We're going to prepare for the other side when you're ready. Keeping the knees bent, let the feet touch back down to the ground. Let's start by extending the left leg up and just finding some nice rotation in the ankle. Big circles, both directions. And then even if the knee is bent, that's okay. Work as much extension as you can and reach that extension up through your heel. Feel the toes pulling back to create a nice bend or flex into your ankle. Dorsiflexion. Now, as you keep a bend into your ankle, create a fist with your toes, a nice curling over. And as you keep the toes curled, begin to extend your ankle. Feel the length all the way from the shin out through the toes. And as you keep the extension in the ankle, just begin to pull the toes back. See if you can spread them open nice and wide. And then as you relax the foot, cross the ankle over your right thigh and feel your left knee opening up away from you. You can press the thigh forward and stay here, or lift your right foot off the ground. Keep your sacrum on the floor. Backs the hips stay grounded. Your hands can weave through, catch your thigh or shin, and then draw the legs closer to the chest while the back stays nice and flat. And then try to relax some of that effort and tension from your shoulders. Once again, use what you need and let the rest go. As you draw in, start to shift your legs an inch or two over to the right side. Maybe a little curling up of that left hip, that's okay. Let gravity weigh you into this position, feeling that little bit of tension on that outer left hip and glutes area. The breath deepens to help circulate some of that energy, softening. We're just going to take one more breath here. And then if your legs are tipped a little to the side, let's bring them back to center. Keep them crossed. As you release, let the right foot touch down to the ground. Now, the foot that's on the floor, let's walk it over to the right side of the mat as much as you need to. You might even walk it off the mat. Let the legs tip over to the left, relaxing down towards the ground. And once again, if it's too much to have left foot planted on top of the thigh, just let it relax down to the floor beside it. And you can adjust your right foot to walk further out or closer in, depending on what sensation feels better for you. We want to still feel a nice opening, but not too much. It's that kind of Goldilocks approach. Where's that nice in between? 2 more breaths wherever you are. If the foot is still resting on top, go ahead and gently bring it back down to the ground. Swivel the knees back to center, walk the feet in, and just rock the knees around however it feels right. Hug the knees into your chest when you're ready. Continue swaying a couple times from side to side. And we are going to come up to a seated position. You can either roll over to your side and gently press yourself up, or grab the backs of your thighs and rock forward and back a few times until you have momentum to come all the way up into your seated position. Cross your legs, sit the spine up nice and tall, join your hands together at heart center. Give yourself a moment here to just set an intention and allow this intention to guide you through your practice. Something to anchor into when your mind gets distracted or when you feel a disconnect, you feel challenge, difficulty. Let this bring you back to your why, to presence, to this moment, this breath. And then gently blink open through your eyes. Let's take the hands down to the knees for some seated cat-cows. Deep breath in to prepare. Lift the spine up nice and tall. And exhale, chin to your chest, tail wraps under, curl your spine, lean back into it to get that full flexion. Inhale, scoop your heart forward and up. Lift up through your chest, feel the sit bones draw back, extending through the spine. And then exhale, round back into a flex spine, curling under, tucking. Inhale, lift forward and up, find extension, lift, find space, and just start to move on your own from one to the next. Each exhale, you're releasing and compressing, and each inhale, you're finding more space, more opening, deeper breath. Any other variations or movements that you want to add in today, please allow yourself to just start working into your body in the ways that feel most appropriate. And then slowly work your way back into a nice neutral spine position. We're going to sweep the legs off to the side. Make your way into tabletop position, all fours here. We're going to warm up a little bit more into our hips. Let's start with the left side. Begin to open your left knee out to the side like a fire hydrant, okay? And then just start to create big circles. Move it slow so you can really feel in to all those little spaces in the hip joint. Reverse the direction. And then slowly sweep it all the way back down to meet the other. Let's do the other side. Right knee opens out to the right side, fire hydrant. And find one direction to start big circular motions, drawing circles with the knee. Switch directions. And then slowly lower right knee down to meet the left. Tuck the toes. Feel free to reposition hands and feet. Take your first downward facing dog of this practice. And as you find the positioning for hands and feet, just go ahead and pedal out the legs or move in any way that helps you just to access more space and more connection into your body. One more deep breath here. Inhale your right leg up towards the ceiling. Open up the hip, bend the knee, take a breath or two. If you want to move in it, you move in it. If you want to stay still, you stay still. And then inhale, straighten out the legs, square the hips. You're going to take a big step to the outside of your right hand. Big step outside right hand. Now really try to get the knee to stack over the ankle, even if you kind of have to heel toe your foot forward to find that right positioning. And then gently drop the back knee, release the back toes. Hands are to the inside of your right foot. Just turn your right toes out just slightly. And you can stay on your hands, you can walk your hands forward, or you can even lower your forearms down onto blocks or all the way down to the ground. You also have the option, if you want a little bit more, you can kind of rock a little bit in it, or tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, and you can even kind of rock a little bit better once that back knee is lifted. Take it to your variation, and wherever you are, know that it is perfect exactly as it is. If the back knee is lifted, go ahead and drop the knee, release the toes, come back up onto the hands. You're gonna walk your hands off to the left side. My left hand comes completely off the mat. Feel free to take a block underneath it for more space. And inhale, open up the ribs and chest, right arm sweeps up high. Option to stay here, or take a bend into the back knee and catch the foot with your top hand as you gently draw it in. Give yourself a couple breaths. Now, if you have the foot, don't let it slingshot. With control, release it, let it come back down, and then right hand comes back down to the floor. Hands walk back around through center. Now tuck the back toes, lift the knee. From here, we're gonna step forward. Left foot is gonna step to the outside of your left hand. Toes turn away, and then start to bend the knees and sink the hips down into a squat. You can also sit on a block or two if that feels more comfortable for you, okay? Hands can stay on the ground, or try to take hands together at heart center and try to use the elbows to open the thighs away from one another, making sure that the knees and toes are pointing in the same direction. And if you'd like, you can sway a little bit side to side between the feet. Sway yourself to center. Take the fingers down to the ground. Feel free to walk them forward if you'd like more space, and lean towards the hands, lift the hips, walk the feet back towards one another. Feel free to shake them out, and then walk the hands back into a nice forward fold. Separate your feet about hips width apart, generous bend into the knees, head heavy. Maybe grab opposite elbows. You can sway side to side. If you prefer just to hold the backs of the legs and hug yourself in for a more active variation, you can do that as well. Then come back to center, release the arms. Inhale, lengthen your spine halfway. Plant the hands and just go ahead and step back, downward facing dog. From downward dog, inhale, left leg reaches up tall. Open up the hip, bend the knee, and just spend a few breaths moving around in your three-legged dog as you will. Then when you're ready, let's inhale, straighten out the legs, square the hips, take a big step to the outside of your left hand, and the toes turn out. Once you have that, gently drop the back knee, release the toes. Make sure you get a nice stacking of your joints first. We don't want to have it pointing way over. Once we have that nice stacking, you can stay up on your hands, walk them forward, or lower down onto your blocks or forearms to the ground. If you want some movement, add some movement. If it feels good to tuck the back toes, lift the knee, you can do that. Any movement of your choice, or just settle into your stillness. Couple breaths here before we move on into the other variations. If the knee is lifted, let's go ahead and drop it back down. Slowly come back up onto your hands. Walk your hands off to the right side. Right hand is going to plant down, maybe to the ground or to a block. And then spin open through the chest. Inhale, left arm reaches up. Option to stay here, or take a bend into the back knee and maybe catch the foot or ankle as you draw it in, feeling more of an opening into your quads and your hip flexors. One more breath. Release of the foot if you have it. Let's take the top hand down and walk it through to center. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, and you're going to step to the outside of your right hand. Toes out. Sink the hips down. Once again, we meet in Malasana, squat position. Hands can stay down or heart center, or feel free to sit on a block. Swaying a little bit side to side. Those hips are getting a lot of attention today. Hands come down to the ground in front of you. Maybe walk them forward. Lean in, lift the hips, and walk the feet back towards one another. Once again, about hips width apart. Shake them out. Long spine, breath in. And exhale, just fold in. Inhale, come up to standing. Reaching up nice and tall. Feel a lifting of the chest at the top. And then join your hands down together, heart center. Okay, we're going to build a little bit of strength into our lower body, starting to establish a little heat and muscle activation. So let's step the feet as closely together as you're able to. Take a bend into the knees. Inhale, chair pose. Arms reach up, spine is nice and long, tail reaches down, feel the navel hug in, ribs knit in nice and tight towards the midline. Pull the shin bones back and imagine you're trying to sit as far back into that chair as you can. Take 3 more deep breaths. Really melt in. How close can you get to the fabric of that chair? How far can you sink in? If it's too much on the shoulders to have the arms extended, hands can always come to heart center. 1 more breath. Now inhale, stand up nice and tall. Release everything out. Shake out your legs. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of standing balance, starting with our tree pose. Let's bring weight into the right leg, hands to heart, and find a focal point, your drishti. 1 single point of focus. Concentrate there. Let the rest of the face become nice and relaxed. And as you feel weight shift into your right leg and foot, slowly lift the left knee towards the chest. We're going to move slowly here. So start to open your left knee to the side. I'm going to face you so you can have a better visual. Now, as your left knee opens to the side, before we connect, we're not going to connect yet, okay? I want you to bend that left knee as much as you can, squeeze the foot in, and then I want you to hover your right foot as close to the right leg as you can without it touching. Left foot is moving towards right thigh, as high up that leg as you can without it touching. You're basically doing a hovering tree pose just for another breath. And now connect the foot to the leg, wherever it connects, whether it be above the knee or below the knee. If it's at the knee, just be mindful about the pressure you're pushing sideways. If you're pushing into the knee joint, go down or above, okay? From here, concentrate on that focal point. Arms can begin to lift up and over your head. Maybe open them up nice and wide. Okay, and our challenge today is to slowly soften the gaze. And don't worry about your balance. I want you to just close your eyes and let yourself lose the balance. Let yourself just ride the wave, all the wobbles. If you fall out, come back in. Extra challenge, try to come back in with your eyes closed. The slower you move, the more connected you're going to feel to your bodies. Use your entire body as a whole unit to stabilize. Then go ahead and open up the eyes, hands to heart. Slowly lift knee to center, and then set the foot to the ground. Go ahead and shake everything out. So much of the time when we're working on balance, we're striving for this sense of perfection, okay? Perfection doesn't matter. And if you're doing a tree pose perfectly, unwavering, okay, then maybe we're looking to kind of push that boundary and actually be able to work the muscles in a new way. So losing your balance and trying to maintain it at the same time is ultimately going to keep those muscles active and awake, okay? It's what we're looking for. Hands to heart. Find your drishti. Weight shifts into your left leg. Right knee slowly lifts up towards the chest. Breathe. Open it out to the side. Squeeze the foot up and in, but hover it as close to the left leg as you can. Holding for 3, 2, 1. And then connect the foot to the leg, wherever that is. Don't use your hand to pull it up, okay? We're using our legs and our hips to train them to do the work, okay? We don't want to assist ourselves every time and never gain that strength into the hips. Arms begin to slowly stretch up and out. Soften your gaze. Don't worry about losing balance. Just close your eyes and embrace imperfection within the practice. It's more fun here anyways. A perfect practice is a no fun practice. Let yourself have fun. Let yourself enjoy wobbling. Let yourself come out and come back in as many times as you need to. Feel your body working. Couple more breaths. Core is so strong. Open up the eyes. Hands to heart center, knee to center, and set the foot down. Shake it out. Once we learn that we don't have to be perfect in our practice, it can be sloppy, it can be messy, then we allow ourselves that freedom to just be in our practice. Okay. From the top of the mat, arms reach up, deep breath in. And exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine, plant the hands, and go ahead and just step. Actually, let's step the left foot back. Step the left foot back into this nice lungy position. Front knee over the ankle, and then open the back foot 90 degrees. We're going to come all the way up into a warrior two. We're getting this nice hip opening position. Bend into that front knee. Back leg is straight and strong. Level out the hips. They're nice and even with one another as they drop in. Arms reaching forward and back. Gazing over the front hand. Rolling the front thigh open. Lifting all the way up through the crown of your head. Give yourself a couple more deep breaths here. Flip the front palm. Inhale, reverse your warrior, holding here for an extra breath. Notice the tendency to straighten out that front leg. See if you can sink in a little deeper. One more breath in. And exhale, you're going to take the hands all the way down to the ground. Pivot on the back foot and step forward to the front. Switching sides, lengthen spine, breath in. And exhale, big step back, right foot, open it up 90 degrees. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2 position. As you come up, same thing, level the hips, sink into the front leg, open up the front thigh, arms extending away from the midline, forward and back. Stretching nice and long in all directions, gazing over the front hand. Really sit into that fire. One more breath. Flip the front palm. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Keep the lower body the same. Maybe even sink a little deeper. Encourage that strength, intensity, and then lifting the spine as you open up the side body. One more breath in. And exhale, take the hands down to the ground. Pivot on the back foot. Step forward to the front. Halfway lift, breath in, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Reach up nice and tall, open up the chest, and then take your hands back together, heart center. Okay, so for the next, we're going to come into another standing balance. This time we're going to come into a standing figure four. Okay, if that does not feel accessible to stack ankle over the thigh, then you can always take tree pose again, okay? You can also use a wall for more stability if that helps. Option to have blocks in front of you for this one, which can be a nice assist for the hands to come down to if you don't want to work balance and more of the stretch, okay? From the top of the mat, find your focal point, hands to heart center. Weight shifts into your right leg. You're going to lift the left knee. Cross the ankle over the top of the right thigh above the knee, and then bend your right knee as you let that left hip open out to the side into a figure four. Now really sit the hips back and down on this one. And you can stay right here. This is going to work more balance. Or hands can come down to your blocks or to the ground. Keep sitting down through the hips, and this is going to work more of the stretch, more of the flexibility aspect, okay? So if you want balance, hands at heart. If you want more of a stretch, hands down. 2 more breaths. If your hands are down, long spine, slowly draw the hands to heart, stabilize. And then inhale, come all the way to standing, left knee to chest. And then set the left foot down, shake out the legs, release the arms. All right, let's do that other side. Weight into your left leg, hands to heart. Right knee lifts towards the chest, cross the ankle over left thigh, and then begin to bend your left knee, sinking the hips back and down. Same options. Stay here, work the stability, or hands drop down to blocks or to the floor. Drop those hips, sit into that chair. Deep breath in whatever variation you're choosing. Just a few more here. If your hands are down, lengthen the spine. Find stability as you float hands to heart. Slowly come upright. Lift the right knee to chest. And then set the foot down. Arms release. Shake everything out. Arms reach up. Take a deep breath in. Long lifted spine. And exhale, forward fold, coming all the way down. Inhale, lengthen the spine halfway. Exhale, plant the hands down to the ground, step back. Let's just take a child's pose. Drop the knees, sink the hips towards the heels, relax your spine forward and down. Let yourself soften here. Let yourself relax. We're going to be here about 5 more slow connected breaths. If you have a lot of excess energy inside, feel free at any point to just open up your mouth and sigh some of it out. Once we've cleared out some of that excess energy and trapped heat, we can re-regulate the breath back into a nice, slow, steady rhythm, calming the body and the mind with the breath. Let's take 2 more from this child's pose position or any other resting position that might serve you better. Okay, so we're going to come into a tabletop position and then just go ahead and turn sideways on your mat. So you have the long way out to the side. Okay, we're going to use that space. If your knees are tender on a hard surface ground, you can always roll your mat back, which is going to create extra layers of cushion. You can roll it as many times as you need because we're going to come into froggy pose. Okay, so as you come onto your hands and knees, slowly walk your knees as far apart from each other as you can. Now, if the knees are sensitive, this is where you're going to want to roll the mat and have your knees be on that roll, okay? So you're getting that extra cushion underneath the knees. Once your knees are as separated as they can get, then create a 90-degree bend in both of your knees and also your ankles. So they look like frog legs. And keep your hips in the same line as your knees. We don't want them to sink too far forward or too far back. Now, from that position, you can slowly start to come down onto blocks, forearms, or chest all the way down to the ground. I'm going to turn back to center here. I have extra cushion available to me. Listen to your body. If you need extra cushion, gather it. You can also use blankets or pillows that you have at home or nearby. But once again, try to avoid the hips sinking forward or back. Keep them lined up with the knees and soften from here. We're going to be here about 10 slow breaths. Try to relax as best as possible. 3 more breaths. Now you can come out of this by either just kind of rolling forward and out like a little inchworm, or you can come back up onto your hands and slowly walk your knees and feet back in. Now, wherever you come out of this position, I want you to spend the next 4 or so breaths just moving however you want to from whatever position you're. You can find movement, or you can just let yourself be more still and settle into more of that still shape. All right. Let's make our way up into a nice upright position and have your blocks somewhere nearby the front of your mat, okay? We are going to get into our hips a little bit differently than we have been for the rest of the class. We've been focused more on outer hips, inner hips, okay, and then some stabilizing. We're going to get a little bit more into the hip flexors and into the hamstrings. So let's take a quick downward facing dog just as a transition. Right leg lifts up on an inhale and step your right foot forward between the hands. Okay, take your time getting there. You can walk it forward or wiggle the back foot back for more space. Then drop the back knee, release your toes. Okay, now from here, we're going to slowly feel the tail reaching down to the ground. Okay, so we're not letting our lower back just dip down. We're actively lengthening our tailbone down and then sinking the hips forward and down towards the front heel. If it's too difficult with your hands on the ground, take your hands up onto blocks. Tail down, and then let the hips sink in as much as possible. Pull your rib cage forward, and that's going to help emphasize that forward motion to open up through the front side of the body, chest up as the hips drop down. 2 more deep breaths. Hips pull back just enough to stack over the back knee. And then we're going to walk the front foot forward a couple inches until we can roll back on the heel, toes pulling back, leg is straight. If you're having trouble straightening the leg and your hands are on the ground, come up onto the blocks, and that helps to create a lot more space. Now from here, nice extended spine on an inhale. And then exhale, folding over that right leg. With or without your blocks, just make sure that that front leg is straight and that your hips stay stacked over the back knee. Okay, we're not shooting forward through the hips. They're staying stacked, staying in this half split position. Let's take about 3 more deep breaths. Last one here. Inhale, lift the spine. You're going to wiggle that foot back in until you can bend the knee again and just bring it back into a tabletop position. Feel free to shake out however you please. Couple breaths. All right, downward dog just to transition. Inhale, left leg reaches up, and then exhale, big step forward with your left foot to the front. Get the knee over the ankle, maybe wiggle the back foot back for more space if that's a more accessible move. Then gently drop the back knee, release your toes, option to grab your blocks here. Spine up, pressing into the ground. Lengthen the tail down. It's almost as though you're trying to scoop it slightly under, but you're really just stretching it down, and then bend into the front knee. As you do, start to pull your rib cage forward. And so you're opening up the chest, ribs are opening forward, heart is lifting up. Hips continue to sink towards the ground. Give yourself a few breaths here. Feel that nice opening through the front of your right hip. One more breath. Hips pull back to stack over the back knee. Keep them there as you walk your front foot forward and roll over the heels, so pull the toes back. Long spine on an inhale, with or without the blocks. Make sure the front leg is straight. And then exhale, you can stay or you can fold in a little bit deeper. Continue to lengthen chest away from the hip line, which is going to create more length and focus into the back of your left leg. 2 more deep breaths here. Long spine, inhale. Wiggle the foot back in until you can bend the knee and step it back. Shake it out for a couple breaths. Make your way into a seated position. Grab a block. Take it with you as you come down onto your back. We're going to take a nice supported bridge. As you walk the feet in towards your hips, you're going to lift the hips and take the block at your desired height to go underneath your sacrum. So think about filling the space between your hips and the floor. If it's pretty low, take the block low. If you feel like you can take it higher, you take it higher. Make sure that your body is giving you permission to go into these spaces. You're not being forceful. It should feel good. It should feel like you're getting a nice decompressing in your lower back, a nice release through the hips. If it feels like too much, lower it down. If you feel like maybe you can take it up a level, take it up a level. Make sure that the block is flat. It's not like a corner or an edge poking into your sacrum, okay? Nice, flat, and stable. Let's give ourselves let's take about 6 slow breaths. If your block is on one of the higher settings, go ahead and lower it down to one of the lower 2 settings. So it's really a lot lower to the ground and very stable. If you need to adjust it, you can. We're just going to stretch the legs towards the ceiling into a supported candlestick position here for about 3 or 4 breaths, and just allow kind of that trickling energy from your feet to melt down the legs towards the hips, getting that opposite gravitational pull than what we're used to with our feet. Last deep breath here. And as you bend both of your knees, 1 foot at a time, lower the feet to the ground. Lift the hips, remove your block. Set it out of your way completely as the hips rest back down, and just sway the knees side to side. Nice and easy here. When you're ready, hug the knees to the chest. Continue swaying left and right. Keep right knee hugged in as you come to center, and stretch the left leg long out on the ground in front of you. Hold on to your knee with the left hand. Right arm falls to the side. Let's take a deep inhale. And on your exhale, twist as you guide the knee over to the left and down, while keeping right shoulder blade nice and firmly rooted into the floor. Maybe the head rolls over to the right side to complete the rotation in your spine. Give yourself about 5 slow breaths here to fill up on each breath in and to feel yourself go in a little bit deeper on each breath out. As the breath vacates, you move into that space. Let's take 4 more breaths, nice and slow. Try not to be forceful. We're winding ourselves down. Last breath from this position. Head rolls back up to center. Slowly lift the knee back to the chest. And then we'll switch sides. Right leg goes long in front of you and left knee slowly hugs in. On an inhale, hold the knee with your right hand. Left arm can fall to the side. And then exhale, twisting it over to the right side. Left shoulder stays rooted down. Maybe let your head roll off to the left side and maintain your breath here, really full and expansive. Taking about 5 more, connecting with the subtle movements of each breath. Two more here. Head rolls back to center. Knee lifts to center. Let's hug both knees in again, nice and tight. Maybe lift the head up towards the knees. Squeeze yourself in. And then taking Shavasana as you let the legs and arms fall out to your sides, nice and wide. Push any props you have nearby out of your way. Take up space. We're going to go through 2 nice relaxing breaths together before we go into our final rest. So release your breath out. And then from the bottom to the top, through the nose, start to breathe in, expand out in all directions, barreling open, holding at the top of the breath. And then open up your mouth and let it all the way out. One more just like that. Even deeper breath in, scooping up residual tension, stress, anything lingering within the body and the mind. Lift it to the surface. Hold it briefly. And then open up your mouth and consciously release it all. Relax your breath. Relax your body. Relax your mind. And just feel yourself slowly sinking below the surface of all the movement, distraction, and clutter. And slip down deeper into more of a calm, clarity, stillness, and connection. Feeling the vastness that surrounds you. And just imagining that your body is seeping out in all directions, connecting with this vastness. And for the next few minutes, just allow yourself to fully enjoy as you continuously drop deeper and deeper through the layers into you, your true, authentic self of just being. Start to slowly deepen your breath and allow little movements to come back into your body, starting with the tips of your limbs, working your way up the limbs, working into the joints, maybe sway through the head. If it feels good to take a full body stretch, you can do that. Otherwise, any movement that feels more resonant for you. Knees draw to the chest, arms wrapping around, sway left and right. And then just let your body weight shift over to a side, fetal position. Top hand presses into the floor to gently guide yourself all the way up into a nice comfortable seat, whatever seat feels best for you here. Eyes closed, spine lifts, hands joined together at your heart center. Take a moment to just thank your bodies for all the amazing things that they do for us. The very fact that we could lay out our mat today and practice is a blessing in itself. And thank you so much for choosing me to be your guide today. Much love and much gratitude from me to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can blink your eyes open whenever you're ready. Thank you guys so much for practicing with me. I hope you enjoyed today's practice, and I am looking forward to having you again soon. Thanks, y'all.